Hello there, it's Claire from Come Back Brighter here. This is the next in my series of what to expect when you go no contact. And today I'm going to talk about boundaries, okay? Now, effectively, going no contact is like the biggest boundary that you will ever have, okay? And the problem is, if you've been involved with a narcissist, the chances are that you have no boundaries, okay? The narcissist sees your boundaries as a challenge, okay? Boundaries are like the rules that make you feel safe and secure and respected and loved and all the things. Just these big and little things that we do and expect, like the rules that we have about how we would like people to treat us and what have you, okay? Now, no contact is the biggest one of these boundaries, especially because it's with someone previous to which you've had no boundaries with whatsoever, okay? Because the narcissist doesn't want you to have boundaries. They want you, basically, they want to be able to walk all over you, okay? And if you have boundaries and there are consequences when they break those boundaries, then that means they cannot walk all over you. They cannot just use and abuse you. They can't treat you like how they want to treat you, okay? Now, the narcissist will have all these rules about how they're expected to be treated, okay? So they will expect privacy and to be respected and all the stuff, okay? You're not allowed to do these certain things, okay? But you're not allowed to do that, okay? And there's a certain amount of like hypocrisy with narcissistic parents in particular, in that it's kind of do as I say, not as I do. So you may have a narcissistic parent who used to swear a lot, but who doesn't want you to swear? So if you ever swore, they would tell you off for swearing. You're not allowed to do that. I'm telling you, you're not allowed to do that, but they carry on swearing. Okay. So boundary, the problem with the boundary of no contact is it's so foreign, it's so different to the way that you've previously lived your life, that you kind of don't know how to handle it, okay? And because it's such a strong boundary now, so I think personally the only way to heal from narcissistic abuse is in no contact, and that's not in punishment to the other person. It's a time for you to free yourself from them so that you can actually see clearly how you've been treated, okay? And it will help you to work out, do I want to be treated like that in future or not? Okay, so you're putting in like this really strong boundary where you refuse even to open like letters and stuff from them as well. That's how strong your boundary is, okay? And it feels so strange when you've gone from having no boundaries. So previous to this, anybody could basically do anything and you'd just go, oh yeah, that's fine. Except you wouldn't feel that was fine. You'd feel a little bit angry, you'd feel a little bit resentful, you'd feel like a doormat, you'd feel used by people, you'd be a people pleaser, you wouldn't want to say no, and all these things, okay? And also there's a huge element when it comes to narcissists, is that previously, if they asked us to do something and we didn't want to, we would feel that we had to have an excuse why we couldn't, okay? So it wouldn't just be no to whatever it was they were asking, it would be an excuse, not even a no. There would just be an excuse. Now, the excuse gives the narcissist a chance to wheedle their way around it, okay? That gives them the chance to say, oh, well, that's going to start much later, so you can do this other thing first. It gives them the opportunity to turn your very flimsy no, which is an excuse, into doing whatever it is that they want you to do, okay? So this is what they do, okay? And they've got these rules that you're expected to respect, and they get very angry if you don't respect them, okay? But you're not expected to have any boundaries your side. So what you will find is, like, no contact is the beginning of you implementing boundaries with other people too. And this can really rock your world, because you're then learning to do a completely different thing than you have done previously. Because the chances are, if you have narcissistic parents, the chances are you've also had narcissistic friends, narcissistic partners, narcissistic work colleagues, narcissistic bosses, narcissistic whatever. Okay, you've been surrounded by narcissists because your foundation of your life, your normal, is narcissistic abuse. And we attract narcissists, and we are attracted by narcissists. So it's not just that we've got the target on our back that all the narcissists can see. It's that we also are attracted to them because of the wounds that we're carrying from our childhood of going through narcissistic abuse. Okay, so effectively this becomes a point in your life when you have to start to learn to say no. And it doesn't have to be mean, it doesn't have to be rude, it doesn't have to be horrible. It's just a no. No, thank you. You don't know anybody an explanation. You don't have to justify your behavior. You don't have to defend yourself, and you don't have to make excuses. But this is like the habit of a lifetime you're trying to give up here. Okay? And it's really hard. It's really strange to think that you can say no to people. But it feels much, much better than it does saying yes and not really meaning it. Or saying yes and not enjoying it, which is you knew you weren't going to, you didn't want to do it, but you said yes anyway, and you wish you hadn't, which is what happens most of the time when you're people pleasing and you've got no boundaries. Okay? So look at it this way, like no contact is like such an extreme boundary, because what you're saying with this is you're saying, I'm never going to see you or have any contact from you again, probably. I don't think I've ever heard of anybody that's reconciled after no contact. And I'm coming up to 8 years now. I can't see it changing anything, but who knows? Who knows? But I'm happy where I am. So you're saying, and that's such a strong boundary. And it's really, it's not because you're bored one day, not because you thought I've got nothing else to do, really because your boundaries were disrespected. You were disrespected. You were abused by this person, and you're just saying, no more. I cannot have you in my life anymore. You're toxic. I know what's going to happen. This is all going to happen again. You're nice at the moment, but things are going to change and they're going to go bad again. And we're going to have another load of drama, which causes me an awful lot of pain and heartache and sadness and anger and all the things. So you're saying it stops now. And if you can go no contact with a parent or a sibling, whoever it might be, or a partner, then it kind of gives you permission to be very selective about who it is that you allow into your life. Because if you're anything like me, you're very aware, very conscious of that you don't want another narcissist in your life. You don't want to have more toxic people. You don't want to get rid of someone who's so important to you as like a parent or a sibling, whoever it is, it's someone that you love and care about, only to invite more people in that are exactly the same. So this is the time when the boundaries come in. And really what you're doing with no contact is you're saying, here's a line in the sand. This is how I want to be treated. And if you're not going to treat me like that, then you're not in my life anymore. And that's a really strong boundary. Okay, that's a really, really strong boundary. And if you keep that, if you draw that line in the sand with everybody, then you're only going to bring into people into your life who are going to be the ones that respect you and love you and care for you genuinely. So you could have maybe 30 people as your friends, but if 10 of them are toxic, that's not a good thing for you. And if you've got children, it's even more important that you protect them. So I think we've got to detox. We've got to detox from these people. We've got to step away for a little bit. We've got to like maybe just put the hold on new friendships just for a little while as you're processing what you're going through, having gone no contact. Okay, because you've got enough to work through with the emotional elements of going no contact, with everything that you've got to work through, like the cognitive dissonance, like the grieving process that you're going to be going through. You've got enough to go through, so just put the pause on anything new for the time being, and use your experiences with that person to learn from them. use those experiences to learn from. So I would love to say that I haven't got involved with any narcissists since I went no contact. But sadly, that's not true. What has happened, though, is that I've been very cautious, very, very cautious. I've discussed things with my husband. I've discussed potential red flags with my husband. We've both come up with different ones. And then what's happened, before the relationships got too close, before we've started to really make those emotional connections with people, the red flags have got in the way, and we've said stop, and we've put the skids on it. We've stopped the whole thing. Because what you learn is, it's a gradual process of learning what the red flags are, respecting them, knowing that they show this thing, this thing, and this thing. No good. Don't want that in my life. And putting the stop on it there. So that it's not such an emotional detachment. It's not so difficult to process. Whereas previously I would have jumped in with both feet and been 10 years down the line, and then they did something to betray me and utterly left me heartbroken. So I call that a win. I call that a win. But it's also about learning to trust ourselves that something feels off from the start, and to trust that it feels off for a reason. And then maybe we need like evidence, if you like. I'm saying that in air quotes because it's not evidence, but just like proof of, here's the red flag, here. Not to say to the person, you've got these red flags. This is not an opportunity to say to them, oh, you need to work on these things and da. It's just to go, right, these are my warning signs. This means back off, get away. And most frequently, you will see that in actual fact, the biggest red flag generally that people give out is not respecting your boundaries. And if they don't respect your boundaries, they don't respect you. As simple as that. And if they don't respect you, you don't want them in your life. So it could be something as simple as that friend that just turns up on your doorstep whenever they happen to be passing. Okay, it could be simple as that. And your boundary then. So here's an example. You may not know what boundary is. Boundary is, if you want to come and see me, please message me and we'll arrange a time that's convenient for both of us. It's not a good time now. Bye-bye. That's a boundary. They turn up on your doorstep, you say the same again, or you don't answer the door if it's not convenient. They're ignoring your boundary. You've asked them, you told them this is the behavior that I expect from you. And if they don't do it, then you're perfectly within your rights to have a consequence for that. And the consequence is, if they bang on your door again, it doesn't get answered. Okay, because they like boundary testing, boundary pushing is, I think, one of the big red flags, one of the first things that people do, one of the first tests that toxic people have with people to see what they can get away with. Can I push this boundary? Can I disrespect them? And if we say yes, by opening the door, letting them in, even though it's not convenient, even though we said they've got to make it like make an arrangement to come over, even if we let they know they can do whatever they want. I once heard a narcissistic grandparent say of her grandson, I can do whatever I want with him. And this was a statement out of nowhere. And I can't tell you how terrified that made me feel. Because if it suited her, she could do whatever she wanted. And she knew that her daughter wasn't going to stop her. Terrifying. And this is what these people are like. They go around and they're looking for people who they can do whatever they want to do with. Whatever they want. It's not about the other person. It's about what they want. So boundaries are the biggest red flag. If they don't respect your boundaries, and tell them, don't expect them to read your mind. If you don't mind them turning up on your doorstep and at any time, that's fine. But if it does bother you, tell them this is your boundary, and then there's a consequence for it. That's the important thing. There's a consequence for it, because you can tell these people their boundaries, but if there's no consequence, they won't learn. And the chances are, in actual fact, someone who's just testing you to see whether or not they can run roughshod over you, if you tell them there's a boundary and they have one consequence from it, I don't think you'll hear from them again. I doubt it. Unless they're getting something else from you. But the chances are they go and find another target who will let them walk all over them. Don't let that be you. So my thing is now, I've got no contact with my parents, which resulted in no contact with the rest of my family. If I can go no contact with my parents, I can tell somebody who's a casual acquaintance, no, don't knock on my door don't come to my house without prior arrangement. Because that's easy. I don't have any emotional connection there. They're not my parent. It's not going to break my heart if they don't turn up on my doorstep again. Okay, so it's so important to have boundaries, and that can be anything. So I'll tell you one of mine. Okay, this is a really silly thing, but this is one of my boundaries because I really dislike it when people do this. If I buy a magazine, which I don't do very frequently, I have to be the first one to read it. Okay, that's one of my boundaries. All right, that's one of my rules. Okay, because what irritates me is when somebody else reads it before me and then they're commenting on all the things that I haven't read yet. Okay, so that's just one of my little things. There's just a tiny little thing, but that's one of my things, and it might be yours too. I don't know, but that's the rule with my husband. You're not reading it before I do. I shall hide it and I shall read it, and then you can read it and then we can comment on it together. That's fine. But if I buy it, then I'm going to be the first one to read it. Okay, so that's just a silly little thing, but it makes me happier in my relationship with my husband or with anybody else. It makes me happier, and that's what it's about. This is about us feeling comfortable and safe and feeling respected and loved and cared for. That's what it's all about. Okay, and anybody that doesn't respect your boundaries, they don't really love you, they don't really care for you, they don't really respect you. And the question is then, do you really want them in your life? Because the other thing is, when it comes to boundaries, is you may actually find that it may not be the narcissist who's the one that's knocking on your door. It may not be the narcissist that's the one that's messaging you or phoning you. It's somebody else. Now, you will know from previous experiences with them whether or not they're on your side. So what this comes down to is, you really, if you can, were they on my side last time? Or did they even want to hear what I had to say last time? And if the answer is no, you don't have to pick up the phone to them, answer their messages, or answer the door to them. So you don't have to speak to them. Okay? Because sometimes the narcissist is lazy. Most of the time they're lazy. They get somebody else to do their dirty work for them. And the people that will be acting out on their behalf, the narcissist would have already tested them to make sure that they're only interested in the narcissist. These people are only coming to make you feel fear, obligation, and guilt, to manipulate you back into contact with a narcissist again. They're the flying monkeys. They're the minions of the narcissist. They don't care about your side of the story. They don't want to hear it. They're not there to hear it. They're there to be the messenger for the narcissist, and that's it. They're there to get you back. And sometimes it's because they're worried that they're going to become the one that's the scapegoat. So they got a vested interest in getting you back as the scapegoat again, because they don't want to be the scapegoat. So, good luck. I hope it works for you. Boundaries are so important. It's such a good indicator of somebody respecting you or not, and whether or not you want to have them in your life again. And no contact, like I say, is the biggest boundary that you're ever putting in your life. So if you can stay firm in that, and that's not to say that I haven't had my wobbles myself, if you can stay firm in that, every single day you're getting stronger. Every single day you're healing from narcissistic abuse. Now, if you need me, I'm here for you, okay? If you're struggling with no contact, if the guilt's getting too much, if you don't even know what a boundary is, if you don't know how to enforce them, then please reach out to me. Either comment below or email me, Clare, CLARE, comebackbrighter@gmail.com. Bye.